The blue-gray morning mist hung low over the Cumberland ridgeline while Willow Hartman wrestled her duffel out of the rattling bus. The remote stop consisted of a cracked asphalt pull-off, a sagging bulletin board plastered with faded missing dog flyers, and the scent of wet rhododendron. Behind the sign for Graft Hollow, the mountains folded into one another like an unmade bed. Somewhere inside them, she'd been promised, lay Harkin No, three unabandoned coal mine haunted by more than methane pockets and the usual Appalachian stories. If she found even one shard of the so-called singing crystals, she'd have data for a thesis committee that kept telling her she needed sexier fieldwork. If she didn't, she might have to kiss her funded graduate slot goodbye. A dinted Jeep rumbled up, mud splashed and bearing a magnetic sign that read, Mountain Lore Podcast in a scratchy font. Caleb Rhodes waved through the windshield as if they were old friends instead of internet pen pals who'd traded exactly 3 video calls. He stepped out, leather field journal in one hand, mic kit in the other. Tall, flannel-wrapped, and perpetually half-amused, he radiated the kind of reckless curiosity Willow usually associated with climbers who forgot their helmets. "Dr. Hartman, I presume," he said in his buttery radio voice. "Willow's fine," she replied, hoisting the duffel. "And you're 5 minutes late. Had to bribe a local baker for hush puppies. Breakfast diplomacy. Want one?" The bag smelled of sweet corn and grease, but she shook her head. "No time. I want to reach the portal before the fog burns off." He tilted an invisible hat. "Lead the way, Professor." They bumped along a washed-out timber road until the trees parted around a clearing, ringed by rusted rails and tipple ruins. The mine's mouth yawned beneath a timber frame, sagging like a broken grin. Above the portal, someone had spray-painted, "Sing for Us" in neon pink. The letters dripped as if they'd bled into the slate. Caleb killed the engine. "Creepy factor's at 11. My listeners will love it. Your listeners don't have to worry about rock falls." Willow pulled on a hard hat tricked out with a headlamp, then handed him another. "Rule 1, stay on the main hallway. Rule 2, if I say back out, you back out." He crossed a finger over his heart. "Scout's honor." Willow knew as much about folklore as a rock hammer knows about poetry, but even she had read the local legend. In 1907, an explosion at Harkin No. 3 trapped 32 miners. Only scraps of their last letters to sweethearts, wives, and sons made it to daylight. The men did not. Months later, a rescue crew reported hearing voices in the tunnels, phrases matching the miners' final words, sung in crystal tones. Geologists who ventured in classified the voices as mocking echoes, probably from twinned quartz seams, but none had produced samples. Over time, the story calcified into fireside entertainment, the kind Caleb peddled on his show. Willow hoped the phenomena were merely rare vibrational crystals, possibly ilerite, maybe even an unclassified piezoelectric mineral. Anything capable of converting pressure into audible frequencies could support a groundbreaking paper. Ghosts she could not submit to peer review. They stepped into the portal. Damp air kissed Willow's cheeks like cold breath. Her headlamp revealed ribbed walls black with coal, where abandoned trolley cables drooped like jungle vines. Every few yards, ductile limestone ribs interrupted the charcoal strata, evidence of the ancient seabed that had birthed these hills. Caleb walked as quietly as a hiker on autumn leaves, microphone pointed like a divining rod. "Sound check," he whispered, voice echoing ahead. "Episode 29, The Love Letters That Never Reached Home." "Less narrating, more listening," Willow muttered. They pressed deeper, the only light their dual beams swimming over cart tracks and broken roof bolts. Eventually, the main hallway split into 2 headings. According to century-old survey maps Willow had pored over in the WVU archives, the right branch intersected a Devonian sandstone pocket rumored to host the crystals. They took the right fork. Caleb's recorder captured the rhythmic drip of groundwater and their own breathing. After 15 minutes, the coal gave way to russet sandstone glittering with specks of feldspar. Willow knelt, scraping a fingertip across the wall. Her lamp caught pale veins running through the rock translucent, slightly opalescent. A cricket-like trill rose, subtle as the ring of a wine glass. Caleb stiffened. Did you? Shh. Willow pressed her palm against the vein. The sandstone pulsed faint vibrations as if echoing her heartbeat. Then a voice, airy and melodic, glided through the tunnel. My dearest Clara, the stars are bright down here. The words faded, replaced by a single note that resonated like struck crystal goblets. Caleb's mouth fell open. That's the letter from Eli Potts. I quoted it last season. Willow swallowed. That can't be a coincidence. Before she could start a fresh note packet or even scrape a sample, a boom reverberated behind them, rock shifting somewhere up tunnel. Dust gusted past their lamps. Timber popping? Caleb asked. Could be old supports failing. Willow's stomach nodded. Collapse risk was always higher in abandoned workings. A second, sharper crack answered, followed by the unmistakable shudder of falling debris. Back to the crossing, she ordered. They sprinted, boots slick on slate fines, until they reached the intersection, only to find the main hallway partially blocked by waist-high rubble. Behind the pile, darkness pressed like a curtain. Caleb raised his lamp, revealing jagged ceiling slabs jutting like rotten teeth. We can climb. Willow shook her head. Not safe. Alternative's the left branch, it loops around, but I don't trust century-old maps. Weather's worse topside, Caleb said, listening to new pops echoing through stone. Left branch it is. They squeezed beneath a splintered support beam and entered the unexplored heading. Here the walls narrowed, twisting like an intestinal tract. The air warmed strangely, filled with faint harmonic hums. To distract herself, Willow analyzed. Quartz crystals under tectonic strain could emit electrical charges. If the mine's roof flexed, the crystals might transform that piezoelectricity into acoustic energy. But the actual words? Recordings from passerby? Unlikely, unless the crystals behaved like lithic tape recorders. She'd read French papers about that. Yet the sentences they'd heard matched letters never spoken aloud, only written. Caleb kept his recorder live, whisper narrating while respecting her earlier scold. Tunnel walls glowing faintly aqua, Hume registers around C-sharp, fluctuating with our footfalls. The passage opened into a low-ceilinged chamber, ribbed with quartz columns more translucent than bridal ice. Pockets of delicate crystals jutted like mouths poised to sing. Under Willow's lamp they shimmered moonlight hues. She touched one. It sang a single syllable. Lu. She jerked back. Caleb leaned the mic closer. Again, please, he coaxed as if addressing a shy vocalist. Willow pressed lighter this time. The crystal vibrated, releasing a breathy continuation. Nah. I kept the ribbon. Luna. That name belonged to miner Owen Yates's sweetheart. The ribbon was mentioned in his final unsent letter. Willow had seen a scan in the archive. Caleb's eyes gleamed. Told you. Spirits in stone. She forced herself to catalog methodically. Columns average 6 inches across, growth pattern hexagonal, typical quartz. Unusual translucence suggests trace impurities, maybe lithium, could influence resonance. A crystalline pillar near Caleb began to glow from within, responding to their presence like a bioluminescent creature. Then another voice, scratchier yet melodious, rolled from different crystals in overlapping harmony. Tell Ma I ain't scared o' the dark. The Lord walks with me. That line belonged to Samuel McTeague, age 16, the youngest victim. The auditory collage built, letters drifting through the air like autumn leaves. Some phrases overlapped, forming sudden chords, while others arrived solitary and fragile. Caleb's recorder redlined, Willow's logical mind strained. Maybe fluid inclusions inside the quartz preserved acoustic imprints, water pockets interacting with pressure waves. If an original sound occurred while the crystals grew or shifted, it could imprint vibrational memory. Still, that didn't explain semantic organization, multiple voices, or their spontaneous activation. Yet part of her, The same part that believed in the slow majesty of tectonic uplift wanted to kneel and simply listen. A particularly large column back near the wall hadn't yet sung. Deep amber streaks wormed inside it like captured sunbursts. Drawn, Willow approached. The air smelled metallic, charged. She placed both palms against the cool facets. Static spiked her fingertips. The column thrummed under her skin, strings plucked by unseen hands. A low baritone emerged, gentler than the others, carrying a different weight. Ellie, forgive me. When you read this, I'll be home by Christmas. I can almost taste the apple pie. The voice broke, replaced by a sob she recognized from human experience rather than geology. Willow's breathing hitched. Her own father, a strip mine blaster, had cried like that the night he left home for good. She shut her eyes. Keep talking, she whispered to the crystal, forgetting Caleb, maps, deadlines. But the voice stopped mid-breath. Instead, a new sound bubbled up, small at first, then cavern-filling. The hush-hush susurration of hundreds of pages turning. The chamber brightened as multiple crystals illuminated, filling the air with ghost blue light. Words overlapped, intertwining into a single choral swell. Fragments of affection, regret, courage weaved around them. Moonlight kisses your freckles, remember. Tell the baby I made him a wooden horse. Carry your picture against my heart's wall. Caleb's shoulders shivered. This is beautiful. It was, and terrifying, because beneath the love lay something unresolved, desperate, stretching across time like fingers clawing for daylight. Willow stepped back. They're responding to us, maybe our bioelectric fields, or our emotions. Then what happens if we respond in kind? Caleb asked. Without waiting, he cleared his throat, switched off the recorder mic, and spoke to the glowing pillars as though addressing an unseen audience. My name's Caleb Rhodes. I tell stories. You miners out there somewhere, your words made it to the surface today. People still read them. You're not forgotten. A hush settled, followed by a distant rumble, subterranean thunder. Dust sifted from the ceiling, the crystals glowed brighter, voices swelling until they threatened to become noise. That might not be the right reply, Willow warned, scanning for roof movement. Another rumble stronger. She felt vibrations in her ribs. We need to leave, now. Caleb snapped the recorder off, then on, fussing with levels. But we're finally getting the chorus. Just 30 more seconds. Caleb, she grabbed his sleeve. This whole chamber singing, it means massive resonance, could trigger collapse. He hesitated, then slung the mic kit over his neck. Together, they backed toward the passage. Voices crescendoed, calling names Willow could no longer separate. The crystals pulsed like beating hearts. At the doorway, a final voice rang, clear as brushed crystal glass. Don't leave us in the dark. The plea sliced Willow open. She spun, impulse overruling caution. What do you want? She cried. Silence fell, crushing and immediate. Then, one by one, crystals extinguished, plunging the chamber into blackness so thick it felt solid. Only their 2 headlamps cut small tunnels through the void. Caleb's breath rattled. That's not physics anymore. Willow forced rationality forward. Maybe they need light vibration to stay active. Without our presence, a beam of light bloomed at the big column's core, carving a silhouette of a letter folded in quarters. Lines of cursive floated inside the quartz like insects in amber. The signature read Oliver Hartman, her father's name. Willow's heart guttered. That's impossible. Caleb saw it too. Willow, talk to me. She pressed a shaking fingertip to the glyph. The quartz registered her touch, delivering in a whisper her father's voice. The voice she hadn't heard since she was 12. Kiddo, you're going to move mountains with that rock hammer of yours. Proud of you. A sob ripped from her chest. She'd never received that letter, never heard that goodbye. He'd died in a slurry truck crash early one January, after promising to return for her birthday. The chamber trembled again, softer this time. like a sigh. Around them, the other crystals reignited, gentle pulses matching a resting heartbeat. Caleb dimmed his headlamp to let the mineral glow bathe them. Tears tracked his cheeks too. Willow wiped her eyes, mind racing. Could the crystals read memories, or were they offering comfort? Did the mountain absorb grief the way coal absorbs methane? Another beam flared, showing a barely legible child's scrawl. Dear Daddy, I found a cardinal feather today. Means you're safe. Love, Rosie. Caleb whispered, My sister's note to our dad in Iraq." Willow looked at him, realization forming like a geode crystallizing. It's not just the miners. These crystals are recording present emotions, pulling what matters most from us and echoing it back. They're memory translators, Caleb exhaled. Living archive, which is why they collapse when overwhelmed. The more memories they carry, the more strain. Willow glanced upward. We can't keep feeding them. So how do we finish the conversation without killing a mountain? She surveyed the forest of crystal columns, each now vibrating at a calmer frequency. Every message needs an address, a destination. Maybe they're trapped because delivery failed. Caleb keyed his recorder but kept it muted. I think we have what we need, academically and emotionally. Do we risk taking a sample? Willow pictured a quartz sliver on her lab stand, humming with orphaned voices, slowly cracking beneath artificial pressure. If we separate them from the network, we isolate the memories forever. Better to leave them home then, she nodded. But we can help them deliver in a way. She retrieved a field notebook, ripped out 2 blank pages. On one she wrote, "To all who kept the lamp burning, your words reached daylight today. You are remembered. W.H." On the second page, Caleb wrote, "Your songs will be heard. MLL." Podcast. Willow slipped the pages into a seam between 2 crystal prongs. The quartz warmed under her fingers. Faint chorus murmured approval. One by one, other crystals dimmed to a restful glow, as if settling into sleep. The chamber's hum dropped an octave. Dusk stilled. "Time to go before shift change," Clave said softly. They traced their way back. The blockage at the crossing had settled. A narrow crawl space permitted escape. Sunlight greeted them at the portal, harsh yet clean. Afternoon already. Outside, the mountains looked unchanged, spruce needles glittering, creek babbling nearby. But Willow felt as if millennia had shifted under her skin. Caleb set his recorder on the hood of the Jeep. "Raw audio's almost 3 hours. I could strip your father's clip if you want." She shook her head. "Let people hear. Maybe their own lost words will resonate. Maybe that's the point." He studied her, then nodded. "I'll keep the coordinates off record to deter vandals." "Thank you." They stood in silence until a red cardinal alighted on a rail post, cocking its head. Willow smiled at the coincidence, or acknowledgement. She almost reached for her phone, then let the image embed itself unmediated, trusting the mountain to archive what mattered. Caleb cleared his throat. "For my outro, I usually ask guests to finish a sentence. The mountains remember because..." Willow considered the strata layered behind his shoulder, epochs stacked like diaries. "Because every heartbeat leaves an echo, and stone is patient enough to listen." "That'll play nicely." He offered a hush puppy from the grease-spotted bag. This time she accepted, biting into the sweet corn. The taste reminded her of county fairs her father once snuck her to after shifts. Caleb climbed into the Jeep, clicked on the ignition. "Next up, editing cave, you ready?" Willa glanced back at the portal. Inside, somewhere, letters slept inside crystal vaults, finally addressed. She touched her chest where vibrations still lingered. "Yeah," she said, climbing in. "I moved 1 mountain today. The rest can wait till morning." The Jeep rolled away, gravel crunching under tires. Overhead, the ridgeline shimmered beneath late-day sun, humming an inaudible lullaby. But the travelers carried its chorus forward into podcasts, theses, and, more importantly, into the breathing world, where echoes become new songs.